Hey everyone, I hope you're hanging in there and doing well. Last week we talked about qualitative surveys and analysis. We're now going to step into more quantitative surveys, and we'll be doing quantitative analysis for a good chunk of class now. And we're going to start that with experimental design. Okay, experimental design, to me, it's one of my favorite like quantitative research methods, and it's definitely one of the most powerful. Typically, when you think of like experimental design, you're thinking of a science project or something, and I don't know, I think of like elementary school when I was testing different ice melts and seeing which one melted ice the fastest. But research with an experimental design applies to all sorts of areas, whether it's economical, social, psychological, or even with marketing. And what really makes this powerful is this helps you determine whether there's a causal relationship between two or more variables. We use the word cause a lot, like this causes that. But most of the time, what we really mean is these two variables, these two things are correlated. They're related with one another, but we don't really know for sure whether one is causing the other. A classic example of this would be you could take data and that maps the number of shark attacks and the number of ice cream sales in a certain area. And you'd see that areas that have more ice cream sales, they sell more ice cream, also have a higher frequency of shark attacks. So no doubt there's going to be those people that are like, man, these sharks must really like ice cream, and they smell it off of you, and they're going after people with that have just eaten ice cream or something like that. And so eating ice cream causes a shark to be attracted to you, and it increases the likelihood that you're going to get attacked, which is obviously dumb. That's not what's happening. Are these two variables related though? Ice cream sales and shark attacks? Yeah, they're related, but they're related through another variable, like the area having a higher temperature and there's more people outside and there's more people on the beach eating ice cream. And when there's more people at the beach, there's more shark attacks. Obviously, that's what's going on. It's not that ice cream is causing shark attacks. To bring this home to like a marketing example, you could also see that when ice cream sales go up, sun lotion sales also go up. Obviously, we're not going to be that dumb marketer, but you could potentially see someone that's like, hey, so the more sun lotion sales, the more people buy our ice cream. So let's incentivize people to buy sun lotion. So therefore, they're going to buy more ice cream. Like that's obviously not a causal relationship between lotion and ice cream sales. It's just people are outside in the heat more, buying sun lotion and also buying ice cream. So let's bring up a less obvious example. Let's say that you're running a social media campaign for a company. You see that there's a spike in likes, and along with those likes, there's more people coming to your website and buying products. Okay, so the likes is like correlated with sales. And so you think, well, likes cause people to buy our product. So maybe what we can do is just say, with all of our posts, smash that like button. Make sure to press like, or maybe we incentivize people to hit the like button because we believe that it'll cause them to come and purchase products from us. No doubt there's probably going to be a relationship there, right? But maybe instead of focusing in on the likes, maybe you focus on the content. What was it about that content that people liked that drew them to your website and drew them to purchase a product? Was it the physical act of liking? Maybe something's there. I could see perhaps maybe like by a small margin, but it's more likely to be the content that you were using at that time. And it's going to be a lot more productive to look at that type of content to try to see why it stood out and to run tests to replicate that than to simply pressure people to push the like button. So what's amazing with experimental design, you could take this type of idea and run some experiments to see, okay, this type of content causes the average person to like our products more, to like our brand more, which can have a very strong positive impact on your social media campaigns in the future. So when we're talking about experimental design, you're going to have at least two variables, and those would be at least one input variable and one output variable. The input variable, often known as like a predicting variable or an independent variable, this is a variable that you're really testing. You want to see, hey, does this have an impact on some sort of outcome or your output variable? So taking the last example, does a humorous ad versus an emotional ad increase the likelihood that a customer comes to our website? So in that case, the ad version, whether it's emotional or humorous, that's going to be your predicting variable, your input variable, the ad type. Whereas your output variable, as I mentioned, is the outcome. Okay, so the ad type could have an impact on emotion, could be an outcome variable. You could have the likelihood that they purchase, the likelihood that they visit the website, how much they're willing to pay, whether they talk to their friends and family members about the product, right? All of those are potential output or outcome variables that we could use in an experiment like that. So you could also test, okay, what logo should we go with, logo A or logo B? And what you would do is you would randomly assign customers or participants to see one of those logos, and then you would measure different outputs, different outcomes. Okay, what's the likelihood that you would want to learn more about this product or this brand? Something like that, for example. For your class project, you're going to be running an experiment. You've selected two ads from a known company, and then you've created a third ad. In this experiment, the input variable is going to be ad, whether it's ad A, ad B, or ad C. And you're randomly going to show your survey respondents one of these ads. And then you're going to measure their different opinions or the likelihood they purchase products and a variety of other variables. And then what you do is you look at the differences in those measures between the three ads. Now, when you're doing experimental design, you're usually testing a certain thing. So ad emotion, whether it's humorous or more emotional. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're controlling for as much other things that might vary in that ad as possible. So that one in particular would be pretty difficult. Like you want like the same actor, the same type of setting, the same type of video style, and you really just want like to just change it enough that in one case it's humorous, in one case it's emotional. That would be a very hard experiment to run because there's so many other factors that may be coming into play. This is a more simple one here, and this is in this example though. Say you work for all, and somebody mentions, hey, you know, we have this blue container, but maybe for our target customer, a purple container would be better. And so you decide, okay, well, let's run an experiment. Let's randomly show people this blue container, or they get assigned to see this purple container, and you randomize which one they see. Now, your gut may be screaming, no, that's not good, and I hope that it is, because you can see here that, yeah, there's a blue and a purple detergent, but there's all kinds of other things that are differing between these two. The brand is different, all versus extra. The extra bottle has a message that says 50% more loads. The one on the left says stain lifter. Now in-wash pre-treaters, and there's a tropical passion scent for the one on the right. There are so many differences between these two detergent bottles. The issue is that, say you ran the test as is, and you found that the purple outperformed the blue. You then have to ask yourself why. Was it the color? Or was it the 50% more loads? Was it the brand? Was it the scent? What was going on? Why did people differ in their attitudes toward these two detergent bottles? And you wouldn't know. So what would be a more proper way of doing it is, instead of running it as you see here, just photoshopping the color, so that only the color differed between these two detergent bottles. And then you'd have a proper design. And when you looked at the results, if there were like significant differences in their attitudes toward these two detergent bottles, you would know that it was due to the color, because color was the only difference. And then you could stand confidently and say, hey, we should go with the color purple or the color blue. We ran this test, and this color difference caused an increase in purchase intentions or whatever it is. All right, so let's go to our Blitz Blend example. So say we have, we've been doing social media ads with pictures similar to this one, but then someone argues, hey, maybe it'd be better to get some type of hands, like holding the shakes, helping people, I don't know what excuse you'd give, like helping people realize, yeah, we can hold this shake and drink it, or whatever excuse they want to come up with. They're probably wrong, but let's say that you received that type of feedback. And so I created this image just with AI, so I could use that same prompt, but do it with a hand, and then we do get like a very similar image. The shake is a similar color. We have similar packaging. Those things are okay, but the big difference that I would see is the color of the lightning bolt. That's not good, no bueno. So we would want to make sure that that is at least the same. Everything else I think is going to be similar enough, but again, like if we ran a test and we saw that one of these versions outperformed the other, we wouldn't necessarily be sure, was it the hand or was it the lightning bolt? And so just using Photoshop, I went through and I replaced that lightning bolt on the left with the lightning bolt on the right. So now they're very, very similar shakes. So what we're going to do now for this assignment is we're going to create a survey that will show participants one of these images. Okay, it's going to be an experimental survey. So the respondents will come on, they'll see one of these, and then they'll be asked questions regarding their intentions toward Blitz Blend. And so if you remember our qualitative survey, just for ease, I'm going to have you import a similar version to this qualitative survey. This was what we saw before. I've removed some of the questions. Obviously, instead of this image that we used, we're going to use the two images that I created and gave you. And again, we'll randomly show participants one of those. So I have my Blitz Blend, the experiment survey, and you should have each imported that QSF the same way we did before, just with this new survey. And you'll see that a lot of these questions are very similar to what we saw before. I just kind of made it a little shorter. And you'll see that the image that we had in the qualitative survey is no longer there because we're going to replace it. Now there's several ways that we could go about running this experiment. Some are more fancy than others and some are easier. So what we're going to do for this experiment is go through the easiest way. And what we learn through doing this can be directly applied to your class project. So what I'm going to do is here with above these questions, I want to show the picture, the image, at least one of the images, right? So I'm going to just add a plus to add a question. I'm going to come up here and change the question type to text or graphic, because we're just going to show the image here. I'm going to go to Rich Content Editor so I can insert an image. I'm going to get rid of that question and just click on the Add Image button. Upload new graphic. I'm going to choose a file. Here's my gold lightning bolt image. Click open. Okay, this is way too big. Let's try width of 450. Something like this might be good. You can do it. Update preview. All right, that looks good to me. So we'll click save. I can pop out of this, and now we have this here. Okay, I'm going to just name this no hand. Now what I can do is I'm just going to come here on the options, and let's copy this one. So now we have a no hand, and here this one I'm going to name hand. And obviously we're going to go to rich content editor, we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to add the hand one. Choose file. It is open. Do the same width, 450, and save. Okay, now we got both of these. So you can imagine what would happen right now. In fact, I'll just show you really quick. If they went through, let's ignore validation. If they went through here, they're going to see both images. Okay, we don't want that. This is an experiment. We need one of these images to show. So I'm going to go back to the survey, and what I'm going to do is come over here to survey flow. Now this survey flow shows the blocks that we have in the survey. So if I go back to the builder, we start with the intro block, then we have the questions, and then we have demographics. Okay, those are our 3 blocks. But you can do all kinds of other things here in the survey flow. And what we're going to do here in the survey flow is we're going to create a randomizer. And this randomizer is going to help us randomly put people in one of the 2 conditions, either the add with a hand or add without a hand. And then based off of the results of that randomizer, we're going to go back to the survey and do some display logic there. So to add the randomizer, I can either add an element here, and then I'd have to drag it all the way to the top. So I'm just going to start here to add below. And here's my randomizer. What I like to do with experiments is just make sure the randomizer's on top. If the randomizer is like below the question block or something like that, they're still going to see both images, and then it's going to randomize, and we don't want that. Everything here will occur in the order that it's laid out on the survey flow. So I'm going to click here on the move, and when you click it, you have this drag and drop. So I'm going to drag it up to the top. And what we're going to do next is we're going to add embedded data. Now what embedded data does is obviously when there's a survey, you have data. Each of these questions here are data points, right? We have Q2, Q3, and when we download this survey, as you've seen it in the past, we could download an Excel sheet. It'll come up in an Excel sheet, and we'd have one column for each of these questions. What embedded data are is when we create one, we're just creating another column in for the data. It's another variable that's not accounted for in the survey. That we're just creating a new one in the flow. Okay, it's not a survey question. It's just a variable that we're creating. So I can click here and add an element, and I'm going to add an embedded data. And in this case, I can say this, I want it to be add. Which ad did they get? So that's going to be the name of the embedded data field. But what I want to do is set a value for it. So if I click set a value, let's just go with no hand. So if add equals no hand, then what we're going to do is make sure that the respondent sees the ad with no hand. So to help you see this, I'm going to just show you a sheet really quick. So say that we have Q1 in the survey, Q2, Q3, etc. for each survey question. What I just did here is I created another column or another variable add, right? So let's say these were some responses from people from the survey. So if we kept it as is right now, what we would get is for add, we'd have no hand, and then the next person would be no hand, and no hand, and everybody here would get no hand, because this randomizer only has one thing to randomly present, and that's add equals no hand. What we want to do is we want this instead of having no hand all the way through, we want it sometimes to have hand. So what we would know is this first person saw the add with no hand, the next person saw the add with a hand, no hand, and hand. Okay, so this variable is going to tell us which add everybody saw. So if you notice, we're not changing the name of the variable. We're only changing what's in the rows. So here, we're going to just kind of duplicate this to add another embedded field. We're going to keep this the same. We want that variable name to be the same. It's add. But in this case, we're going to just take out the no and the space, of course. So now we have no hand and we have hand. And then I'm going to just randomly present one of these. And I'm going to click evenly present. All right. If this isn't selected, then it's like truly random. And in some cases, you might get more no hands than hands. And some people don't like that. Usually I just click evenly present, and then it keeps the number of no hands and hands even. So now this randomizer is set so that add will either equal no hand or it will equal hand. And you could do this with any number of conditions. So say for instance, I had 3, like your class project. You have the company add one, the second company add, and then your add. So there would be 3. So you would just need to create add. There would be 3 adds, and there would be company 1, company 2, and yours. And you can name them whatever you want. What's going to help us going forward as we analyze data is if we kept it like this, it's just going to save it as a text, something that you can't really analyze. And we don't want that. We want Qualtrics to recognize that this is like a group. And so what I'm going to do here is click Options, and we're going to change the variable type, not text, but text set. So this is telling Qualtrics that, hey, this is a set or a group. So now it says text set there. I'm going to do that with this one too. Text set. Click OK. And then that'll help us later on big time. Now I'm just going to come over here and click Apply. So now we have add, the add variable set up to be either no hand or hand. But still, if I ran the survey, it doesn't know what this means. Qualtrics is still going to show them both pictures. So the next thing we're going to do is add some display logic to these pictures. So here for the no hand, I'll just click here and add display logic. And we're not going to base this on the question that they answered. What we're going to do is we want to base this on what the embedded data add is. So I'm going to click here on embedded data, and I'm going to click add. And if it's equal to no hand, and then click save. So now this will show up if add is no hand. And then I come over here, I'm going to do the same thing here, add display logic. Oops, sorry. And then I go to embedded data, click here on add, and in this case, if it's hand, and click save. Now they're set. So now if I go to preview this, and by the way, I'm going to get rid of the UV logo here. But if I go to preview, here's the ad with a hand. You see they're not seeing the ad without a hand. If I restart this and go again, then I'm going to see the ad correctly here with no hand. So it's randomizing which one they show correctly. Now the other thing that I can do to test this out and make sure it's going well is I can come up here to Tools, and I can go down to Generate Test Responses. And let's give it 15 responses. So I click Generate, and it's going to go through and just preview this 15 times. And I click Close. Now I'm going to come over here and click Data, and it'll load those 15 responses for me. Might take a little bit. You can see it's working on it. Recorded responses 0 of 15. Sometimes this takes a little bit. So if you come up here and you're like, oh, there's no data, what did I do wrong? Just, it's loading. You gotta wait for the 15 to show. And sometimes if you refresh, it helps. Okay, so it's coming in. Yeah, text never really works, right? But we have here, but it's showing some of the questions here. That's great. I'm going to come over here to column chooser, because what I'm really interested in is add. And here we have hand, hand, no hand, no hand, hand, no hand, hand, hand. Okay, so they are randomly showing up, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we want, and it shows that the experiment is working. This person had hand add, this person had hand add, no hand, no hand. Okay. Pretty straightforward, but now what we've done is we've created an experiment, a survey. People are going through having a different survey experience depending on which ad condition they've been randomly assigned to. And when we analyze this data, if we see differences between the no hand and the hand ad, then that's going to help us make decisions and help us potentially make more impactful ads in the future.